Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 5 of the Infinite Lorcana podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jeremy Bertarioni.
And I'm Syed.
And we have a lot to talk about this time. It's been a little while. In that meantime, you've had a little bit of tournament success, Zan. Why don't you tell them what you won?
I won the CCS 8K.
CCS 8K with
Yellow Steel Song.
Yellow Steel Song. I'm pretty sure that anyone listening to the podcast already knows that you've done that.
Yeah.
So we don't have to talk too much about the deck because I feel like that's everywhere, right? You talking about the deck. Why don't you tell them a little bit about let them know where they can hear more about the deck if they haven't, which is a little crazy.
Yeah, I did a podcast called the Forbidden Mountain Podcast, and I did another podcast which I don't remember the name of.
So what was cool about the Forbidden Mountain
Earl Meister's podcast.
That's right. What's cool about the Forbidden Mountain is they actually named their podcast way before Forbidden Mountain was a Lorcana card. But now it is a Lorcana card, so whoa, how'd they know?
I mean, they could be fortune tellers.
They could be least likely. So I wanted to start with this episode. I feel like some people come to our podcast, they just want really quick the current state of the metagame. So right now, what would you say some of the main pillars of the metagame are? I would say there's still blue-red, ramp, yellow steel songs, and ruby amethyst. How do you feel like those interact with each other? Are they the three main pillars, or is there other stuff to be aware of?
So Pixelborn, which is the client for Lorcana, the online client, free to play. Pavel, who is the creator of of Pixelborn, posted a bunch of data. And so looking at the data, it seems like Yellow Steel has now jumped to the number one most played deck. And then right behind it is Red Purple. And then there's Blue Red. There's Blue Steel, which has jumped up in popularity because the same weekend I won, a version of Blue Steel won. And then, what do you call it? Purple Steel, piloted by my opponent in top 4.
And is that deck, I feel like...
The Hyper Aggro deck.
I feel like I've played against a couple different versions because it's not always
Zach
Hyper
Bivens.
Aggro.
Yeah, Zach Bivens' deck. Hyper Aggro. It's a budget deck. That deck has jumped up a lot in popularity. And then Purple Green.
Purple Green is what I've been playing a lot lately.
Yep.
And do you feel like that metagame is sort of accurate for how you think? Is that a tier list along with a metagame? Do you think those are accurate for how good all the decks are?
Are they accurate? It was saying what the win percentages were, and there was a big disparity between Yellow Steel. It was top 50 players playing Yellow Steel on hardcore had, I think, the highest win rate.
Sure.
And then, but it also had the lowest win rate when it was piloted by the rest of Pixelborn.
So a fairly difficult deck to play. I see a lot of people post their own twist on Yellow Steel, and it looks a lot weaker. So maybe even a really difficult archetype to build correctly.
Yeah.
And then building how you anticipate it in the current meta is another big skill tester because Yellow Steel for some reason feels so deep as a card pool that it's easy to miss and show up with the Yellow Steel deck for a way different metagame.
Yeah. But it adds a lot of relatability. So winning with the deck, I think, has really spread me a lot of allies because people find that relatable. They're like, you're a Yellow Steel guy, And I'm kind of.
Fans of the podcast know that I'm actually a Yellow Steel guy.
Yeah, he's a Yellow Steel guy.
The tournament you top 8'd, I top 16. Okay.
Yeah, you played fantastic. Yeah.
I played okay. I was really happy with a lot of my play early in the day. I played against a really good player on the mirror. They were also playing Ruby Amethyst. And the game got pretty complicated, choosing what to do with my mana or with my ink on certain turns, really kept me up at night. That whole night I was I could have done this. Would this have been better in this spot? So, Lorcana is a really skill intensive game and I got to play in one of the more skill testing games, and I'm still thinking about how I did, but for a lot of the day I came off of the rounds thinking I played really well, and that was a great feeling.
Yeah, I watched you a decent amount of times, and for the most part you played amazing. I did get a chance to watch you play against the purple red player that you were mentioning, and that player forgetting his name, but came from Magic. It's someone who we faced on the SCG tour playing Magic, and so yeah, it was just a higher level, like opponent of similar stature,
Right.
and so games are just gonna get more messy that way, and so I'm not surprised that mistakes were made, and like it. Oftentimes, right now, what happens is like our skills from prior card games allow us to get away with mistakes because people aren't like we aren't able to be punished just yet.
Yeah.
And so I think that if we just remove the other player, the component of it, and we're just trying to make the best move possible every single turn,
Yep.
it changes. It just completely changes, like how we approach this game and what our win rate ends up. Like we start reaching our true win rate, which is like pretty insane amount.
Right now, my win rate is like really high. If you look at like all my Pixelborn decks, it's like almost all of them are like 70% or above. So I can't wait to find out my true win rate is like closer to way lower than that, but it is what it is. So do you feel like is there anything else you want to talk about, like the metagame? So we're currently playing the first challenge metagame, right? Because the set 4 is not going to be released. So this metagame is still relevant for a pretty long time.
Yeah.
So people might want to know, like, is there anything they need to watch out for? I'll say I've been testing a lot of Emerald Amethyst.
Yeah.
It's pretty close in power to all these other decks, especially you have a lot of options.
Yeah.
With like how you want to tune the metagame. But it's just, I really like the play pattern of quest with my Curse Merfolk, get 2 lore, play Madam Mim the Snake, and put it back in my hand, and then I can just go again with that.
Yeah, I'm going to drop a truth bomb on you. I think that you're trying to find the burn deck in this game.
It definitely is true. I recorded a video today where I was like, okay, now that we've hit like this certain lore threshold, as long as our guys quest once, we're good. They have 0 lore, I have 10, so like we can throw all our cards away, and that is what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, that is like that's like I think a good thing to be chasing. But one thing that you have to recognize about this game is your aggro decks need to be multidimensional.
Yeah,
but I truly believe that even if green purple has a early amazing plan, its late game plan is at the bottom of all the tier 1 decks.
Okay, that makes sense.
And I think that until it finds its true secondary plan, it will continue to be a tier 2 deck, and it will continue to not break through the way it's so close in doing.
You can get into games where you're doing Merlin the Rabbit bounce stuff, the same as the purple-red deck, right? It's sort of almost the same end game, basically, because you end up with like 5 or 6 cards in your hand that they don't have. But not every game looks like that, and you have to mulligan really aggressively for the aggressive starts.
Yeah.
So not every game even can look like that. But I'm still working. I get to play with my little toy or whatever. It's on Pixelborn.
The moment
it's great.
you know that your opponent doesn't have Be Prepared,
right? Yeah.
Then your whole goal just becomes, let me flood the board as much as I can. And when they're doing that against green purple, if they just happen to be able to play more characters than you, it ends up being, and you're really not ahead. Yeah. So I haven't been able to figure out how you're supposed to win when you're playing from behind.
You can't do it from behind unless you use Curse Merfolk and like are bouncing it every turn. So every turn you quest for 2 with that, and then usually like your other guys quest for 2 also. Yeah.
So I would say now that Yellow Steel has become much more popular, and if you look at, like, for example, the Slidebreaker, you'll see like every in majority of the matchups, you want to have Cinderella or shift Queen on 2 into Let the Storm rage on, and that sequence ends the game.
Yeah, pretty much on the spot is over.
So if we're just going off of Pixelborn results, not even the fact, it has nothing to do with that I'm playing Yellow Steel.
Yeah.
I would be doing the same thing if I was the purple red player. I would just be looking at the stats and saying, okay, what do we do from here?
Yeah.
And so in this instance, I would say, again, like, okay, if people are doing this, how can I fathom playing that? Yes, I do punish the blue-red players, but I think that that small window where blue-red was seeing so much play, people overreacted with a deck like yours, purple green, and now people are off blue red, and you can see it in the stats. It's back to just yellow steel and purple red being the two most dominating decks.
So I want that to be like sort of our cap on the metagame. I will say that if you're coming here for like, I want to know what's the freshest thing on the metagame, Zan started a Discord. It's called Club Lorcana. You can find it on Zan's Twitter. And you can just find it pretty much all over the place. But
we'll put a Discord invite in the link below.
That's good. Yeah, we'll put a Discord invite in the link below. That's gonna have like pretty much everything you could ever want in terms of like people working together on decks, and like you'll get Zan's input, you'll get my input on a lot of stuff. So if you really want that in-depth strategic advice, that's like where to find it. And like Zan is starting that community.
Yeah, we're at like almost 400 people.
And it's great. I mean, and it is probably your best source of like, what should I play this weekend type advice. I did want to, I mean, this is our podcast, so we get to do whatever we want. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about some more like personal stuff.
Yeah.
My favorite, sometimes I pretend that I'm a consumer of your content instead of just your friend. And I think my favorite part of Zan as a content creator, and you can tell me whether or not you agree with this, is that you're not afraid to have like a pie in the sky idea of like where you want to go with all this.
Oh yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like if I'm a fan of Zan from Magic, I think it's like cool that you were like, I'm going to have the biggest team. And eventually it basically like your plan led all the way up to you like owning Wizards of the Coast. I mean it did, right? Like theoretically, you didn't necessarily think you were going to get there, but it's like you put everything in place to like work towards. And so I wanted to talk to you about like, nobody's asked you this on the podcast. What are your goals personally with Lorcana?
I'm gonna say that I'm open to anything and everything, but I think that now that I'm working a 9-to-5 job, and that my 9-to-5 job is not just playing a card game,
sure,
that I'm more restrictive on like maybe moving into a team house and doing that whole show again.
Right.
But I will say that, you know, I want to grow. Like when you build a team, you have to have more closed conversations, and I think that majority of the way that I'm headed this time is more open conversations, and those open conversations are happening in the Discord. And then from the Discord, I learned that I wasn't able to translate everything in short form text, and people started asking me to do videos, and so I've posted 2 videos and they've done better than any YouTube video that I've ever posted. So that seems to be like a green light of I should try to post a video of my thought process playing Yellow Steel to start off, and maybe other decks in the future, and maybe other people can gain insight from that. One thing someone commented and someone wrote in the Discord was, I started pausing the matches. I started pausing the game that Zan was playing and try to make a decision before Zan made a decision. And then I realized that Zan and I were making opposite decisions, and I realized I had like a lot to learn.
I saw that comment.
And so that put another green light in my head. And so now when I'm making content, I'm thinking, okay, this is what people want, and I want to continue to expand on that. I think that, I guess, if I'm really trying to jump forward and think about what the future looks like, is I think that I can find like-minded people who are working hard to produce good content, but are also putting up good results, and potentially start like a content Patreon where I can pay people to make articles or videos, and that is more helpful, because I think that a group effort to do something like that would be really nice, helping the community like basically be able to bolster any person that wants to take a chance on a card game like Lorcana.
I definitely think you have a great opportunity to learn from your successes in Magic, but also your mistakes in Magic. And I think the type of player you want to like bring on this time is more the content creator than the like the grinder. I think that's like a lot of where, like, you know, Lotus Box had great highs, but also a little bit of like some lows. And I think the lows are a lot of times coming from, we just wanted more like output from the team members a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And so like, I think focusing on people who are like doing that, and that's why you bring them on, is like going to be really great. If there's even a thing, there doesn't have to even be a thing right now.
We just need more people who share their journey in an entertaining way. And I think that a great example, a great comparison that I look up to is the Pokemon player Wolfie.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he does a great job narrating his successes and his losses, but at the same time he stays true to the type of content that he likes, being a former Pokemon World Champion, and continuing to have the grind and sometimes being burnt out, makes amazing YouTube content, but at the same time has a Patreon that's completely dedicated to, if you want to get good at this game, I can give you the resources to do that.
Yeah.
And so I think that Lorcana is at early enough stage, and I've basically gotten to win the biggest tournament so far. I think that I can domino this into something like that, because I think that Wolfie had a huge advantage because he got into competitive Pokemon at a young age. I think that even if I could be as good as Wolfie now, the advantage of his time put in is unmatched. It's not matchable, you know?
Mm-hmm. So you've gotten a little bit of success in Lorcana. You know, I would say, like, of all the, I mean, you've probably won the most money out of anybody playing Lorcana, right?
Yeah. I mean, I have a spreadsheet. I think I've won $2,600.
Did we add
Profit.
my 2K result to the spreadsheet? I got $150.
I did not, but it's open to you. Remember your
Yeah. I'll check it out. What's cool about that spreadsheet is so my goal for Lorcana, thanks so much for asking, by the way, I want to play at the highest level tournament that there is. Because that always eluded me in Magic, right? Like, when I was not good enough to be on the Pro Tour, I played for a really long time. And then when I finally felt like I was good enough to be on the Pro Tour, it was basically, there wasn't even a Pro Tour. They had like the MPL stuff going on that whole time. So like, I never got to be on the Pro Tour in Magic, and that like drives me crazy because I feel like, come on, I'm at least good enough to play in that tournament.
Well, you can control your outcome so much more in this, and I think that like literally this time, I think it would be effort rather than luck in you not making it to the highest level.
Right. So my goals for Lorcana is there's the challenges coming up, and then they've said on a live stream, but I can't really find anything for it on the internet, that those challenges are going to feed into like a championship.
Yeah, it looks like a nationals. They said NA. It feeds into NA championship.
Right, but if they have an NA and an EU nationals, then there might even be a tournament beyond that.
Worlds.
It's like pretty easy. Yeah, it's pretty easy to imagine Worlds, but at least nationals, I like want to play, and I feel like
it needs to be at Disney World, and I want it would be fun to go to Disney World together.
Right. I want to play at the highest level this tournament. I'd love to get a Disney World trip out of it, but even if it's in Minneapolis, I just want to be in that room. I never got to do it with Magic. I like want to do it with Lorcana. So that's my goal for Lorcana. Just so you know, I saw, you know, we got plenty of time, and so that's why I was like, I'll just tell you what I want to do. So how does success in Lorcana feel different than Magic? Because you're kind of experiencing the very beginning of success in Lorcana, and so you can talk a little bit about how it's the same, but I also wanted to talk to you about, like, how does it feel different?
It's different in the sense that when you win a Magic tournament, it's like, yeah, you're skillful,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, you just like you got that was your weekend. You're running hot. And in Lorcana, everybody knows that they didn't make the most optimal decisions.
Yeah.
And it was their fault.
I see so many people on like Twitter be like, Magic has inherent variance in the mana system, and that's like why it's so good and why it's kept up so long. And I couldn't feel further away from that. I feel like the fact that I don't have to worry about every 10th game I just lose because I didn't draw Mountain is like so liberating. I feel like I have such a good chance to win a match of Lorcana. That being said, we're about to start butting heads a little bit with, I think, the Ravensburger, the company. That's like my eerie, ominous thought, because they've implemented best of 2 matches, which, if you don't know how that works, if you 2-0, you get 3 points. If you 1-1, you each get 1 point. So it kind of simulates if more people were like drawing versus winning in the in like a Magic tournament, right?
Yeah.
Because people have been testing it, because you can test it on Melee by just submitting it as a draw or a win, either way or whatever. So people have been testing it, but I feel like it adds a little more variance to the game. Just because how many times in the 2K did I win a match 2-1? It was like almost all of, like a lot of them. It like matters that you get the like catch up game or whatever. And I didn't even win all my die. Like I lost most of my die rolls in the 8K.
Yeah.
But I bring it back because I knew what had to happen in the matchup for me to win, even when I was on the draw. So I just I don't know. How do you feel about that? I feel like we're hitting a big tone shift, because they're like, we want it to be, I feel like they want it to be a more casual game.
I don't think that sentiment is probably shared by everybody at Ravensburger. Maybe just in the Lorecast, but I think that they need to feel like, I hope that Ravensburger feels more like they should feel more confident in the product that they've made, the game that they have designed. If they feel more confident about that, I think everything falls into place, because all they need to do is see what the community wants, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not making YouTube content right now because like that's what I want to do. It's what I let the Discord tell me what they want, and I'm just giving the community whatever they need in order to get to so I can contribute in some way, my knowledge in some way, right? And so I think that if they feel more confident about that, then, and not obsess over things that they shouldn't be trying to control, right? Right now, some of the things that they're experimenting with feels similar to Nintendo. And let's say I just don't want to see some of their plans not work, and the community like not respond well to it, and that creates bad blood between community versus company, right? Like, where they're dictating how we can play the game, how we can run tournaments, etc. And I think that becomes a dangerous relationship. So I thought about best of 2 a lot. And what got me was, if you think about 4 games, the moment you think about 4 games, it changes everything. So let's say you're playing in a tournament, you're playing in the challenge, and you play 4 games, right? So 2 matches.
Yeah.
You go 1-1, 1-1. How many points did you get?
You got 2 points.
Okay. So now let's say you went 2-0.
Yeah.
And then you went 0-2. How many points did you get?
3 points. It's more points.
So why should the order in which you won your games matter?
I mean, I guess the argument, I've heard that, but I think the argument that I have against it is what you reward for a 2-0 is that in their mind you fully beat the other opponent. So like, it's not that why should the order of your wins matter? It matters that you completely dominated Joe, and then sort of like you're rewarded for that.
You're rewarded for
like the 2-0. The 2-0 means you beat somebody on the play and the draw. You're fully just better than them, is like how they're seeing that as. And so you get 3 points for like the defeat of that other player.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, like that language that I'm using sounds like we're moving so far away from like we want this to be a casual game. It's like, really? Then why are you rewarding me for like dream crushing somebody?
So here's another scenario. So let's say we're playing in this tournament. So some of the math models that we've seen, what we notice is that if you're 2-0ing consistently early, you can easily gain a massive lead over the rest of the field.
Great.
So I'm going to tell you something that they don't want, something that they expressed is they don't want any more draws.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So in day 2, they revert back to best of 3. So the question is, after day 1, when we're playing best of 2, do they reset the points? Is first the same thing as 64th? Or do the points carry over?
Because you can be like 15 points ahead of the rest of the pack out of your best of
I
2s.
can be so far ahead,
And
or
then
anybody.
If those points converted to best of 3, you could basically not play all day.
No, you know what I'm going to do?
What?
I'm going to determine who the top 8 is going to be.
Oh, because you can.
So I'm going to be in first place. All I need to do is figure out who's going to be in top 8 with me. So I can guarantee who, like I can decide who's going to be who's going to be 8th seed.
That's like Boston Rob playing Survivor in his season where he won, where he was like, I'm just calling all the shots.
Yeah, if I just have a run like I did in the 8K, 0 losses, I will be that far ahead.
They would have to do some sort of point stabilization, but that seems so unfair. I don't know. I think this best of 2 thing is like a can of worms. I just like don't understand why they'd open it.
Yeah, and I just don't understand how they could test it without running a full-fledged challenge event.
I mean, theoretically, you could do like mathematical models, simulations on the computer.
I know, but there's no rule against the scenario I just told you about.
Show me in the rules where it says that I can't 10-0 day 1
and guarantee myself a lot of stuff for day 2.
Yeah, I mean, your day 2 certainly looks really different than I think what they're even going for, because they said that they wanted it to be like every game matters. Anyway, I just think that's interesting. So we talked about success, how it feels different. A lot of it's the same. You know, you get to hang out with your friends after the card game. Everybody's happy after you win. You know, there are parts of you winning that tournament and me cashing that tournament where I was like, oh yeah, this is like, you know, this is familiar. We've been here before. Let's talk about, let's get our game design caps on. So people don't know this, but I am presenting at a panel at MomoCon, which is a conflict of interest with the challenge. So I'm almost glad that I couldn't get a ticket. I don't know what's going to happen if I do end up getting a ticket. I think I'll choose playing the challenge over giving this panel. But it's on game design. And you and I have, by now, it's like a couple of years of game design experience.
Yeah.
So let's put our game designer hats on. I think it'd be interesting to talk about with like our, you know, remaining time. What strategies you think could use a boost, and what would be like good for the game for an archetype that maybe isn't great right now to get a little better, or
in Lorcana?
For Lorcana, yeah.
Okay, so you tell me like the archetype first, and then we can talk about it.
So like right now, I feel like Steel Song is like really powerful. So I think that it would be weird if I just said in the next set I want them to make Steel Song stronger, because I feel like that's like not what Lorcana needs to be balanced.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like down for there to be a best deck, but I think I don't know. Do you think the aggro decks should be better? Do you think the Mufasa deck needs anything? I feel like the aggro decks are in a good spot right now where they're like winning a lot. Mm-hmm. What's important in Lorcana is that decks, like you said, have multiple dimensions, multiple like meta games.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any room for like an aggro deck that is all in? You know, you're mostly just playing 1 and 2 drops.
Unfortunately, I think that we're gonna continue to get further and further away from aggro. Okay. I will say I think that what they need to do is they need to like they can't marry a color with certain abilities.
Sure.
To the extent that they have, right? If you notice, what are the top decks? It's like purple, red, yellow, steel, blue, steel, and
that's
blue,
because
red.
Steel and red are like the removal colors.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And so we need to move away from that. Right, green steel has been on the rise, but again, like we aren't seeing like green yellow completely dominate ever, because it just doesn't have some of those tools that allow it to play the multi-dimensional game. And so, if they gave green or green, blue, yellow, some other removal spells, or another color, a wrath, all of a sudden I think green can get paired with every color.
Or maybe like a more aggressive slant to like blue or something, because I really want to see the green blue high 5 deck from the first set. I thought was pretty cool.
But I don't think it's gonna. I don't think it's going to ever see play again at this rate, right? Unless they gave like green Wrath, right? What? And I also don't understand why they haven't printed a blue Wrath, which is just like put all your characters in your inkwell.
That would be so sick. So that's what I'm saying. Put the game designer hat on, and what are some like? So yeah, I think a blue Wrath is better than a green Wrath. I think green, since they're going all in on like these weird evasive creatures, like doesn't need a Wrath.
Yeah,
because it's really outside of its like what it's supposed to be doing. But blue, I think, is like kind of hungry for, like, you know, they want something at 10 mana that like really matters, because you have all these ramp cards, and I feel like they ramp into like right now it's like the Tamatoa Lucky Dime stuff. Mm-hmm. But that's like kind of complicated, a little pie in the sky, and like we're just hoping that nobody ever interacts with our items, sort of, is like how I feel about that. I really want like blue to be able to ramp into something that I feel like really matters. And I think a Wrath is like one of those things.
I actually think that they've done a good job with the top end finishers. I think that Tamatoa Lucky Dime is like a fair version of a finisher. We don't want an Emrakul.
Like, no, I'm not saying an Emrakul.
Yeah, but I think that the next step from Lucky Dime or Tamatoa is like Tamatoa is a card that I was that we talked about in set 1, and I love that card. Mm-hmm. And they've only given it more tools to become better. So in Green's case, I think that 3 mana Ursula should get more cards to make her better, right? Because I think that like Ariel was the same way. I would say set 1, Yellow Steel was never going to be purple red. But eventually more cards came out, and it enabled that card to be, I think, the best card in the set. You know?
Which I think is cool. Basically, the color combinations like blue-yellow and blue-green, I really would like to see a little more to like just boost those and bring them into viability. I feel like Steel has its sort of like song removal package that I think makes it like probably the best color in the game. And then I think Amethyst's card advantage package with like Merlin and Madam Mim. I think Madam Mim is the best 3-drop in the game. I don't think it's close, really.
What? Ariel's better.
Oh, Ariel. I think Ariel's a more powerful card, but I mean, Mim can 2-for-1 so easily.
Yeah, but I don't know anybody else who's won every single round in such a large tournament. And Ariel's like the only card in my list of like the Mulligan guide that I keep 100. I would keep all 4 every time.
Sure. Anyway, Amethyst has its like Merlin Mim package that I think is like really good, along with the 1-drops and like Pinocchio. Mm-hmm. Like I think Rafiki into Pinocchio is like so limiting for a lot of people in terms of like what they can play on turn 1.
Yeah.
Like if you're looking at your opening hand, Cinderella is like probably your best little person because it can sing the Storm Rage on all by itself.
Yeah, but Queen is being able to shift. Just think about if you're playing against Purple Red and they go 1-drop play Madam Mim, put a 3/3 out, but you go Queen shift Queen, deal 5 damage.
Yeah,
right. Along came Zeus. How much mana did they spend to do all the stuff that they did?
And you spent 2 mana and they have nothing.
Yeah, but no, we both spent 3 mana, right? 3 ink, right? But I actually played 7 mana worth of stuff.
Yeah.
And you have no board.
I think the Queen is like probably better, but needs help. But you like can't do Cinderella in your opener because if I just Rafiki Pinocchio, then I get to win now. I get to have a shot at winning at least.
Yeah, I'm saying that it's consistency. I'm giving up consistency, a level of consistency for the high roll, and that's only becoming more and more important with the direction the game is going. Right, best of 2 would rather have you get lucky twice against somebody than you have a more consistent deck.
Okay, so that makes sense to me. I hate this implication of best of 2, and I'd rather get lucky twice against somebody. I think the spirit of Lorcana is gonna evolve to be the better player gets to win. I feel like Lorcana almost should have been Like more time in the rounds should have been the solution. But
I mean, we're gonna be just drawing, right? Like we essentially have all decided to play a tournament where we all decided to all give up a game. Everybody gave up the game.
Yeah.
So they can just get draws and they could just maybe win.
Well, I think that one of the worst things that's going to happen in best of 2 is if I'm playing against one of my friends and they win the first one, I feel like I should just give them the round, give them number 2.
Yeah.
That sucks.
I agree. But that makes the die roll important because then I pick playing first every time. I think that, we've talked about like, oh, we should play first, second. But I think that the thing that we haven't talked about is how it makes someone feel after they've already lost the first one.
If you lose the first one, like
you're playing towards a draw, and that just doesn't feel great.
It feels terrible. I just want to be like, hey, you know what, dude, you got it, because it's one more point gets generated. And then I think we're gonna have to figure out. There's gonna be an etiquette in tournaments that's like, people are supposed to give it to you, but you're never allowed to ask, and that's gonna be a weird feel bad.
Yeah, that's 100% gonna happen.
You know what I mean?
But I guess I'm just hoping that all my friends are all the top players, and that we all have an understanding way before we ever play.
But that's the kind of thing I hope to avoid in tournaments. Is that
I know, but the system is incentivizing it.
And it's so weird because I feel like they tried to make a system that didn't incentivize it.
No, the system incentivizes it. Like, for example, when I was 7-0 and there was an 8th round, I would love to have played, and my opponent would have forced me to play if the seeding mattered.
Right.
But the seeding didn't matter.
Yeah.
Right? So top 8 not being first place gets to play first, and 8th place has to play second against first.
Basically, it took a round off of your tournament.
And it incentivized me to draw.
Yeah.
So why would they do that?
So why would they do that? I don't know.
If they are against draws,
yeah,
then why would they not
do the modified play draw rule?
Exactly. It forces more players to play all the time. Like, again, in top 8, what incentivizes people to play? Okay, I have an advantage because I did better in Swiss, so I should continue playing. I was incentivized to try to split every round. And so I did. But no one did. No one split. So I had to play it all out.
Looks a little bleak. Definitely not the hat that I want to put on when I go to tournaments. It's like, okay, well, Kendall just took round 1 off of me. I guess I should just give it to him. And next tournament, if I get game 1, I know that he'll give it to me. Definitely not how I want to go into a tournament thinking. But I think that we'll figure that out when the time comes. For the last few minutes of the podcast, I wanted to ask you. So we just played the new Star Wars game, Star Wars Unlimited.
Yep.
For those of you that don't know, Zan and I play every card game. I mean, pretty much. I don't think one's gotten by us.
Yeah, we try to try out all of them.
We haven't tried Battle Spirits Saga, but that's okay because that game doesn't look like it's doing very much.
Yeah, I think some games we just let them die.
Yeah.
And then if a game survives and is thriving, we'll go back to it.
So why don't you get us started? We have probably about a minute and a half each. What did you like about the new Star Wars game?
What did I like? Okay, so there's a leading question.
Well, the other half is coming. Don't worry.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a huge fan of leaders, right? And I think that having a commander is always great because growing up, I had a choice between playing StarCraft or Warcraft. And I chose to play Warcraft because it was hero-based.
Okay.
And StarCraft, I ended up playing it later on in college, but I think it ended up being a better RTS, right? Real-time strategy. Because the hero oftentimes was too unbalanced.
Right.
So.
And then what didn't you like?
Again, the hero is going to be double-sided, so I think it will make the game worse eventually. What did I not like? Oh, I did not like that you share a turn with your opponent. It is it makes a game that is similar to Hearthstone, Magic, and Lorcana, but infinitely harder to keep track of whose turn it is.
Yeah. So then my reaction is, I'll start with what I liked because I think that's fair. what I liked is I really like the color system. Yeah. I like how you can sort of like play every card if you wanted to, but like really everything's technically like priced out if it's off color. But it lets you do a couple cool things. You could have a really dedicated ramp deck that like it then becomes like a 5-color deck. I think that's interesting. I also love, choosing your commander, right, and then choosing your base, and the way that like if you change the base, suddenly you have so many different deck building options. I think that's really interesting. So I like it's called aspects in the game, but I like aspects. I think that they're doing it in a way that I haven't seen other people do it. And as I'm looking through the cards, I'm going, ooh, do I want to be, black, yellow, red, or white, yellow, red? They're really different. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I liked that about the game.
Yeah.
Because as I went through all the cards, I was like, my mind was like bursting on like, oh, and I could play this one in this deck. And I think that'd be great. Obviously, what I didn't like is in Magic the Gathering, they tried to get away from onboard tricks because it leads to really complicated board states.
Yeah.
And I feel like with just like each of us having 2 units, we were in a really complicated board state.
From the get-go, yes.
Yeah, like immediately, like if we both have 2 creatures, it's like, oh my God, like what do I do? What's happening? There was a turn where I had to just not attack with my commander that really wants to attack, and I just like took the initiative instead. And you were like, I think that was smart, and I was like, I think it was fine, but it was a huge feel bad for me. I wanted to use my guy. But it just like wasn't. It was like the board was too like gummed up and stuff, and I ended up not. It wasn't the right call. So I think that's, imagine we're playing constructed top tier decks. I feel like we're gonna get into a spot where we're like, oi, like what do I even do? It's so hard. So I think that's gonna like catch up to us. But so yeah, that was Star Wars Unlimited.
One more thing.
Great.
I don't like the 2 zones. Having a space zone and ground zone, I think they need to have, maybe I haven't seen this part of the game, but there needs to be more ways for the space cards to attack the ground cards and the ground cards to somehow interact with the space cards, because X-Wing can come down and shoot some
no, an X-Wing
whatever.
Can only fly in space, I'm pretty sure, and we both know that's not true. I don't know. I like that there's 2 zones because it can make racing really interesting. Like if they're attacking on the ground and you're attacking in the air, you still have a shot even if you're way behind board on the ground, and you get to do these races. I think it was probably necessary to get games to end at all, because you could probably end up in a couple of different stalemates where we just trade off our creatures forever because you can attack untapped creatures. Attacking untapped creatures, I think, is what caused that to be necessary. Because there's probably so many moments where like nothing can do any damage, and thank goodness there's like a dogfight in the air.
Untapping, being able to attack untapped characters, I think is also bad. I think that
I agree.
Causes the Hearthstone effect of like, now anything that I play is already dead.
Already dead. Yep. There were so many times when I was like, I'll play this 3/3, and in my head I was like, bye 3/3, whatever, see ya. Okay, so that's, Star Wars Unlimited. I think
not as good as Lorcana.
No,
it's already not as good as
this is a Lorcana podcast, but people that listen to us might be interested in playing other card games. I'm gonna label it as like keep an eye on it. It's not dead on arrival, right? I think MetaZoo was one that I was comfortable saying like, okay, this is
dead beyond it already.
Right, this is dead on arrival. So like Star Wars, I think keep an eye on it, but I don't think it's time to go all in yet. And you definitely have time because they're interestingly enough doing the same thing Lorcana did, where they planned 3 sets, and that's like the game, and we just got the first set.
Yeah.
So you're gonna play like this weird, like sort of hobbled version of the game for half a year, I guess.
Yeah, it didn't feel as hobbled, but I need to see more constructed decks. I guess
we played the starter decks against each other, but yeah, I can't wait to see the starter decks.
I would definitely play in a tournament, but I wouldn't. The thing I don't like about it is like, again, it's not. I don't think it's friendly to Lorcana players. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
I think you're going to a more complicated place to a worse game.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
For no reason.
Well, for no reason. The reason would be the type of tournaments they're having, right? Like, Lorcana not offering, money, it seems, for the challenges. Star Wars has an opportunity to get a big section of players by saying like, oh, we have a $250,000 prize pool for our competitive thing because we got the Star Wars license and that's part of what they gave us.
I don't know. I mean, those Mickeys are gonna be worth tens of thousands of dollars.
The Mickeys are great, but there's two different things. One is they put money in your account after you win, and the other is they give you something that you have to sell. Our ability to sell that Mickey Mouse might be really heightened compared to like some people that don't even know how they would go about selling that.
Yeah, but I feel like there's going to be vendors on site that are going to want to just buy it immediately.
I can't wait to see the offers they make.
It's going to be crazy.
That's going to be crazy because you're going to be like, oh, the vendor over there had $5,000 more on their asking price,
Yeah,
type,
it's going to
weirdness.
be nuts in Atlanta.
Right, but getting a promo that you then have to sell, you get what I'm saying, is like a whole other thing, is a whole other stress. But I think that's the Infinite Lorcana podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was a great 5th episode. Thank you, Jeremy.
Of course, you can find me on Twitter at Mox, M-O-X, Jeremy. And then I'm going to get some YouTube stuff going soon, but I don't have it yet, so don't even worry about that. And then, obviously, you know where to find Zan. You're on the YouTube channel right now. Anything else you want to plug?
I mean, join Club Lorcana. We're both there, and we'll see you at some Lorcana tournaments.
All right, and that's it. Thanks so much.
Bye.